Silver here for another video. Do we all remember when you can go to the store and you look at the selection of games and just by looking at something, you knew what it was going to be about? It doesn't matter what genre of game it was, by the title and by the cover, you kind of had a good idea of what the game was going to be when you bought that game, went home, threw it into your console or downloaded the game or whatever you do, and you knew what you were getting into. Unless you're one of those titles that has a crazy name like the 1994 hit classic for the Sega Genesis, Balls, fighting at its ballsiest, where you are literal ball characters fighting each other in a fighting game. So before you ask me, where the hell am I taking this, right? We just had the open beta for Battlefield, and then we just had the reveal for Black Ops 7. Out of the two titles, which one do you think is trying to match the energy that the title is supposed to be about? Which one is taking in all the other games and is actually, portraying that game series as it should be? At least, with the background footage of this video, when you look at it, and it's Battlefield 6, of course, we have actual, Battlefield looking gameplay, at the very least. I know a lot of people are annoyed that it looks too much like Call of Duty, and I totally get that. Fans of the Battlefield series seem like they're on the fence on whether or not maps for the beta were too small. They felt like a Call of Duty map, even though there's still 32 people on each team, and it's either Conquest or Breakthrough or whatever game mode you're playing. So unless you're playing Domination or King of the Hill, which, I played a fair bit during the beta of that. But even in a condensed form, you don't have the tanks, you don't have all the vehicles, and you don't have the flying vehicles. It still felt like a Battlefield game to me at least, in my opinion, right? Don't pull out the pitchforks for me on this. For me, at least this year, at least the Battlefield game is still sticking to its roots. When it comes out fully in October, right, there's going to be larger maps, and you're going to get way more of those chances to feel the proper form of Battlefield. You're going to have the jets and the helicopters and the tanks, but then at the same time, now we're having plenty of infantry style maps where maybe it's just tanks running around instead of having air vehicles in every single map. But I keep trying to iterate. Battlefield still feels like Battlefield. So if you flip the coin around, and now we're going to start talking about Call of Duty here. Call of Duty, the name itself doesn't even mean anything to these industries anymore. I think Activision has completely forgotten what made the three-word title of Call of Duty important to people anymore. All you have to do is go and look back at some of the older titles. World at War focused on World War II in a way we've never seen before and have never seen in any of the games afterwards. Let's just stick to the Black Ops series for this discussion, because even if you look at Black Ops 1, it looks completely nothing like what we're getting now with Black Ops 7, right? There's 6 titles in between that. But the main thing is that this Black Ops 7 is going to be a sequel to one of the greatest Call of Duties that have ever come out, Black Ops 2. And that was probably one of the first games in the series where they strayed away from a proper setting in real life and went ahead into the future of 2025, right? Back when that game came out in 2012, 2025 felt like forever ago, and now we're here, right? And then, so if you look at the Black Ops 2 story, right? Does anyone remember the campaign from that game? You had Raul Menendez coming in, and he's trying to get revenge on, the CIA and all of them who were trying, they killed his sister in, Josefina, right? We all remember that part of that campaign because it was an important part of that story, right? We all remember those important parts of the story when it's actually good. So now you have this new Call of Duty coming out that's going to be a sequel to that, and it's basically going to be focusing on Mason and Raul Menendez coming back and fighting at each other, but instead of it being, in a certain way, they have to bring in all this crazy crap. I mean, just looking at the trailer, you've got flying, bizarre dreamlike worlds and a giant boss fight with Menendez on an aircraft carrier or whatever the hell it is. Like, nobody takes this game seriously. Nobody reacted at the Gamescom for it. All of the trailers are being heavily disliked, and all of the comments are absolutely hilarious to read because everyone's either talking about how trash it looks or how they're going over to Battlefield 6 because at least that game knows how to make itself look like its actual title. The only recent Black Ops that came out that had a weird, dreamlike sequence, because even the original one had that right at the end of the game when all the numbers are flying at the screen and, the crazy stuff happening in that game when your psychosis is going out of whack,
Hey! Who are you people? What do you want from me?
We want the numbers, Mason. That's all we've ever wanted.
And they did a similar thing with Black Ops Cold War. That game had a very crazy ending, but it was actually interesting. It was very interesting to look at that, and it was kind of cool to see how you're taking in, KGB agents and then turning them into American assets, and they're doing the exact same thing with American assets and turning them into KGB agents, and it goes back and forth with the Perseus stuff. That was an interesting campaign, and if they actually stuck with doing stuff like that more often, I think people would be happy with these things. So, like, for example, in Cold War, it felt like you were actually part of an actual collective group. So then they kind of tried to expand on that, and they go on to make Black Ops 6, which, if you haven't looked up the story for that, I don't know what you're doing, but it's not worth messing with your time on that. I mean, honestly, the whole thing is a complete waste of time. I can't even remember any of the characters from the recent Black Ops 6 campaign, other than the fact that Adler is in there, and that's about it. Cold War, I remember Case, Adler's in there. You had the other characters like Helen Park and then Lauren Sims, Park and Sims. And then, of course, you had Bell. Everyone knows who Bell was if you played the Cold War campaign. We all know what that character was and what they stood for, right? There was a problem in that game, and so then you had the Call of Duty to go to actually fix that problem, and they made it into a decent story. We're going to have this weird story with Black Ops 7 where you're dealing with the guild trying to stop Menendez. I mean, it doesn't even sound like it's your problem other than the fact that you're connected to Menendez in the timeline. And how lame does that sound? Like you're working for the guild, right? The older games, you're working for cool stuff like the CIA and the FBI and the U.S. Army Rangers and Delta Force, right? We're moving away from all these cool sounding military names, and now we're going with the guild, right? And you're going to go fight Menendez. He's going to have some super weapon, because it's always about some super weapon, a nuke, which for some reason they really can't get away from. Stop the missiles, go after all the gas missiles and the gas nuke now. And Menendez is going to have some weird dreamlike scarecrow fear toxin that you're going to consume and then go jump through some La La Land super dreamlike world and fight him through the campaign. Does that even sound interesting to anybody? Does that sound like genuinely something that people want to do? Maybe it would be fun to jump in there and laugh at it. I don't think it's going to be good at all. Like, that's my prediction here. I'm predicting that the game is not going to be good. Right. And I'm not going to josh the multiplayer. I'm going to wait until the beta comes out for that and at least give it a try. Right. I'll give it a try. There's the old college try, like Call of Duty's looking at all of their other games and they're trying to pull together what's making their series great. Right. Battlefield is coming together and they're pulling in everything that made, Battlefield Bad Company. You got all, the other ones, 1942 even, they probably pulled some stuff from that game. They pulled stuff from Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Battlefield 5, Battlefield 1, right? I'm going out of order, but still. They even pulled stuff from 2042. I'm sure there's stuff out of that game that are in Battlefield 6, and I'm sure the fans of that game are happy with it, right? But then you have Call of Duty out here saying, oh, we understand, guys, right? The Treyarch Twitter account decides to go and release a whole bunch of information about the multiplayer. They go in to say that they've got 16 6v6 maps, 2 20v20 maps, 3 Black Ops 2 classic maps set in Japan, new arsenal of 2035 weapons and gear, 30 weapons, Black Ops 2 inspiration weapons. You got 16 weapons that have never been seen before in the franchise, so at least 16 new weapons out of the 30. Overclock your equipment, field upgrades, and score streaks. New hybrid combat specialists rewarding more playstyles. Cool, I guess. Next level Omni movement, which probably means you get to jump off some fucking walls or something. No tac sprint and no manual doors. Whippy. This isn't going to be a Call of Duty. This isn't the Call to Duty game anymore. This is the call to remember this game, remember berries, and get in here and buy everything out of our bundle store. Look at our store and buy our $30 bundles and our Ninja Turtles fucking shitty stuff that we're gonna put in the game. And then, you know, Season 1's going to come out. It's already confirmed that Season 1 for Black Ops 7 is going to carry over all the stuff from Black Ops 6. You're going to get a little bit of time to enjoy probably a proper 2035 setting before you have Beavis and Butthead, Family Guy, and, you know, Roger the Alien running around shooting you with probably an MA57 or whatever it is that they want to start talking about. Right? They keep saying Call of Duty is too big to fail, but at this point, are we even really excited for this game? Like, what are we going to do? What's going to happen here when this game goes, right? Everyone's going to go over to Battlefield 6, and then what's going to happen with that, right? EA gets validated for doing whatever they want, and then they're going to really beeline for that yearly release for the game series of Battlefields, and that's going to start the whole process that Call of Duty is going through for that series, and we'll probably just keep repeating that, right? Where's Medal of Honor? Medal of Honor, you can come on back right now. And as long as you stick to that title of Medal of Honor and make a proper game, hey, I'm right here. Let's go. All right, that's all I got. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Leave a like and subscribe. And yeah, see you guys later.